Okay. Good afternoon. I want to start the interview off by asking you to introduce yourself to everyone and also tell us a little bit about your job story. Let us know the career that you're currently in and why did you choose that particular career?
Sure, fantastic. And thank you so much for the opportunity today. My name is Maria Traina, and I work for Bank of America Merrill Lynch here in Miami, downtown. My current title is that of Client Relationship Manager. Essentially, what I do on a day to day basis is I manage operations and I manage, supervise the client associates who sort of do all of the servicing and operations to service our clients. And how did I get here, you asked, sort of from a past perspective. So, okay, great. I've been at Merrill going on 10 years now, which I still can't believe. I started, it was a career change for me. I actually am an ex-educator. I was a teacher, then went into training a little bit, and I bounced around different things. I just really couldn't nail what I wanted to do, although I was passionate about sort of developing others and teaching, et cetera. And so my one of my siblings was in finance and had always told me to try it out because it's such a dynamic field. And so that's when I moved to Miami and I looked up and did some research and decided that I wanted to work at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And so I came in with an entry level position about 9.5 years ago as a client service associate and sort of worked my way through. We have an incredible culture of mentoring and coaching. And so my manager saw things in me that I actually wasn't ready to see myself quite some years ago. And so worked with me on that and developed my skill set and my qualifications as well to ultimately become one of the leaders here in the market.
Okay, that's awesome. And I want to focus on that career change that you spoke about,
Yeah.
leaving the classroom and going into the financial field. Were there any certifications, any additional schooling that had to take place in order for you to make that change?
Absolutely. They didn't have to happen before. I came in as an entry level client associate, as I said, and then I had a specified amount of time to get all my licenses. And at the time, and even still today, is the Series 7 and the Series 66 in Florida to become fully licensed so that I could trade in the stock market. Now, mind you, day one, I didn't even know the difference between a bond and a stock. I just did not. I just knew that I wanted to learn and I had the passion, and I guess I made a good impression, thankfully, in the interview. And I was given a chance, and so then day one, our managers and our mentors sort of take you in, and give you all the tools and resources to obtain those licenses, which I did. It was a lot of work, but it's an incredible sort of personal achievement. So yeah.
That's awesome. I know things might be a little different being that we're in this time of COVID right now, but prior to
Okay.
COVID, what did a day-to-day work day look like for you?
I smile because because it can just be a little crazy, a little stressful, but it's good crazy, right? Because I love my job, and so essentially, from a day-to-day perspective, I have certainly a lot of different routines that I follow, things that I need to check and double check within the system, projects that I need to continue to move forward, etc. But really, I am there as a resource to my team. There are 45 incredibly talented associates and analysts that I supervise and that need my help on a day-to-day basis. So they can come in, just walk in or email me or call me and say, here's where I'm stuck. I'm trying to get this done for a client. What do I do next? And sometimes I have the answers. A lot of times I don't have the answers. What I do have is resources and sort of, contacts as well. And then I try to help them and guide them through to all the way the resolution for the client, essentially. So
Okay.
it can just completely depend on the day. I also obviously attend a lot of meetings and conferences, etc. with the rest of my team. I'm actually one manager out of 11. We're a pretty huge market. And so no one day is the same. And that's what I really love about it.
Okay, cool. Okay, now this program, our J Inspire program, is geared toward eighth grade students. So we're going to get in our time machine and we're going to travel back to when you were in eighth grade. And do you remember what you wanted to be when you were in eighth grade? And if so, does that connect in any way to what you're doing now?
Absolutely not. Not even remotely. First of all, I was in Italy and did not speak a word of English in eighth grade. And what I knew I wanted to do was to become a teacher or a professor of what I wasn't sure at the time. And so, although when you look at it on paper, it has absolutely nothing to do with my current career, I, in a sense, it kind of does, because part of my role is to develop talent and mentor others and coach them up. And that is also the absolute, most enjoyable piece for me. And so while it doesn't exactly happen the way that you had pictured when, in eighth grade, ultimately our passions and our true talents and skills do drive the decisions that we make. And I think in a way, ultimately our destiny, even though I didn't even really know what the field of finance was all about, and certainly didn't know anything about Merrill at the time, and it kind of all makes sense in a way, although the answer is absolutely not.
Okay. The next question that I want to ask you is, what was your first real paying job? And give us one thing that you took away from that job, whether it is positive or negative.
Wow, you're really taking me back right now. My very first paying job was working at Pep Boys, the car parts store in New Jersey, at the cashier, which and sort of customer service desk. And what I took away from it was this whole idea and skill behind client satisfaction, which is pretty much applicable in just about every single field and role out there. And so it's all about the client, it's all about the customer, and you just, regardless of your day to day and all the things that the actual different tasks that you need to accomplish in every single role, what that taught me was that as long as you're sort of empathetic to the client, to the customer at the time, that's what that boys would call them. They're coming in upset. Obviously, their car broke down. They're not in a good space. And so I definitely experienced how to, and sort of develop some tools, which I certainly didn't have at that time. I think I must have been 17, how to handle that kind of stress. So versus, and then making the client somehow helping them, or even if you didn't have all the answers, or you didn't have the part that they needed, just making them feel like you care. And that's what it was really all about, ultimately, with a smile, with some kind words, with some empathy, and showing that you were truly trying to help. And then when they would walk away sort of thanking you, even if you weren't able to really change their day, that's where I learned that. And I feel like that still stems true for me today, and it's been part of my success, I think. So great question. I haven't thought about that job in about 20 years.
Wow, that is awesome. We touched on this a little bit before, but I want to revisit it now. I want you to give us a little bit more info about your education path, the colleges you attended, the majors you had, and any special certifications that you received to get to where you are now.
Sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm from Italy, and I came here at 14, right into high school. Learned English and finished high school. It wasn't easy, but by the time I got to college, I was finally sort of just felt part of the American dream, and so now I was just really passionate about teaching, and I wanted to make an imprint on the sort of on society too, because of the experience that I had had. And so I wanted to be either an Italian professor to share my culture and language, or a sociology professor, I remember. Although I made a little mistake, and when I moved to Florida after I had gotten my associate's degree, so I have an associate's in sort of liberal arts, right? And so when I took my, not entrance exam, but when I took my placement exam for my Italian, I had been the first person in my family to go to college. And so anytime anyone gives me some kind of a test, I just do my best. It's what I know what to do. Of course, I aced it because I'm from Italy. And so I remember the counselor saying, well, great, now you've tested yourself out of every single Italian course that we have. You can't take Italian as a major. And I said, well, I don't want an ECA. That's fine. I'll take all of the highest level courses. And he said, that's great, but we only have one of those per semester. You would graduate 5 years from now. Mind you, I was used to taking 23 credits, and I only had about a year and a half of college left. So he looked at me and said, you have to take a different major, and classes started on Monday. So had a complete meltdown, and ultimately decided, okay, well, listen, I'm not from here. I've only been here, 4 or 5 years at the time, and I picked English literature because I decided if I want to be any kind of a professor, I might want to really get this English thing down. And of course, I was thinking, I didn't go to grammar school here, but just got into high-level English courses, and they were all in love with Shakespeare, etc. And it was not what I expected. So very tough transition there, but anytime anyone gives me a challenge, I just rise to the occasion. And unexpectedly, by the end of the semester, I was also in love with Shakespeare and just very passionate about English lit and loved it. So graduated with English literature from Florida, from FAU, Florida Atlantic in Boca, and then continued to Lynn University for a master's in educational leadership because I was teaching by that time, and immediately decided that I wanted to become part of the administration of the school. And so I'm a 23-year-old teacher, and walked into my principal's office and asked, what do I need to do to become one of your vice principals, who of course were extremely senior. And she said, well, the first thing you need is a master's degree. So I went and got it. And, ultimately I have to say I haven't really applied that sort of study path to what I do today, but it certainly helps me, I feel, become who I am, and sort of foster the skill set and the mindset that I certainly utilize in every role that I've had up until today. So yeah, and then in terms of certifications, like I mentioned earlier, initially when I came into the industry, the sales licenses, the 7 and the 66, and then once I got on the leadership path, then I also had to take sort of the flip side of that, which are the Series 9 and Series 10, which are supervisory licenses. And that's just a self-study, and then you just go and take the exam. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump in our time machine again, and we're going to go back to your 8th grade self one more time. And if there's any bit of advice that you can give yourself when you were in 8th grade, what would that advice be?
That's a good one. It would definitely be take a deep breath. You do not have to get it perfect from day one. And in fact, the more you try to plan, the more it won't happen the way that you think. And sort of just follow your instincts and follow your gut about what it is that you like to do, and what really drives you. Because I think I remember when I was younger, sort of thinking in my own limited space, well, I must, I have to do this because this is what I like. Don't worry about what that's going to end up being specifically. Do some research and read, etc. But just focus more on what is it that you enjoy and what is it that you do not enjoy. So if you hate science, stay away from it. Don't sort of have your decisions driven by and probably not to my eighth grade self, but even just a little bit older, I was more driven by I want to be successful. What does that mean? And so I would go and search, who makes the most and what's success. But really, success is ultimately I found out being really happy and loving your job, regardless of how crazy and hard it is, but feeling fulfilled at the end of the day. Once I sort of hit that, I started to just really gain some ground and continually get promoted. When prior to that, I had spent 15 years kind of trying different things because I wanted to be successful instead of just focusing on what is it that I like to do. And then suddenly, next thing I knew, I was successful, if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. I believe that's the key to happiness, doing something that you
Yeah,
like. So I really
yeah,
gravitate toward that bit of advice uh, in my own life, actually. So,
yeah.
um, as we bring this interview to a close, I have one last question that I want to ask you. Um, I want you to think about the student who's watching this video right now and they want to go into a financial career. What advice
Sure.
would you give them to reach that particular goal?
Absolutely. Join clubs if there are clubs in your school. If there aren't, look for them outside of the school. There is so many resources out there, and I think, and I say this to my team as well, as they want to advance to do other things or within the field, right? You have to create the opportunity for yourself, and don't think that necessarily the opportunity is something that is so official. It's not. It's making the connections. It's making the connections with the right folks and continuing this conversation. And so I know that as these guys are getting ready to go into high school, there are several financial type or market analysis type clubs in many schools, but those schools that don't have it definitely have a mathematics club or something to that effect, or a business administration club. So join and don't limit yourself to one. Join all of them, and make friends that are like-minded, because they will tell you what you don't know. You will tell them what they don't know, and you kind of just continue to pull each other up. Yeah, just continue to make networking. I really want them to come away with this word today, if it's new to them, or the concept of it, and it has to do with even going up to your math teacher, or whatever teacher that sparks your interest in that field, and if it's finance, your math teacher, etc., and just asking them what they think and if they know of any clubs or anyone they should speak to, and interview people the way that you're interviewing me right now. And no one will ever say no to you, and ask for them to mentor you. That's another big one. So ask them to take you on their wing and sort of show you the way. And what does that mean? Well, it can mean many different things. It could just mean having one 45-minute conversation with you and telling you about their life and their experiences, and you take from that a lot. You take all of the lessons and the mistakes that they've learned, and so you continue to sort of get this pile of knowledge and experience from others, and it'll, next thing you know, slowly but surely, as you continue to do that, the window, so to speak, the picture of what you need to do and where you need to go will start to become clearer and clearer.
Awesome. I thank you for this valuable information that you shared with us today. Thank you for participating with our Junior Achievement Inspire program. We really appreciate you so much. Thank you once again for your
Absolutely.
time.
No, thank you for the opportunity and good luck, you guys. All the best.